Welcome to the Metaphysics Hour. I am your host, Rory Colgan. This is a show where we condense an hour of blah, 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 blah in 10 minutes or less. Why and how is that even possible? Well, it's possible because quantity does not trump quality. Even Donald Trump can't trump that. So, what we try to do here is condense the most important bits of information that we have discovered. And when I speak of quiocally, I'll have to check on that. But in any case, I've done too many bloopers already, and so I want this to be the real video. I have a time schedule just as you do. So without further ado, let's continue on in our series of universal laws. Now, if you have been following this, if you're a subscriber to Rory Colgan, you will have noticed that we have covered 4 laws. We started off with divine birthright all the way back in episode 6, probably the most important law, the most fundamental law that needs to be understood, that you exist and you have free will. Then we've continued on into episodes 13, the law of proper perspective. You got to put your time and attention in the most important matters, and those vary depending upon the individual. Episode 14, got it on my whiteboard over here so I don't forget, was the universal law of abundance, basically saying that there is an abundance to the universe, not scarcity. Even the guy Stefan Molyneux, who I truly respect and, well, I just really enjoy listening to him speak and stay consistent within his belief system and his moral authority, whatever you want to call it. He believes in, and most of the world actually believes in scarcity, that there are finite resources and unlimited desires. And that's kind of one of his fundamental elements to his philosophy. Hopefully at some point, as I become a little bit more well-noticed and in his realm of sphere, I'd like to have him on to discuss some of his thoughts. That's going to require some time and effort that I'll get to eventually. So, point being, there is an abundance. Just because we aren't particularly experiencing it right now does not remove it from the reality of the situation. It just means that you and I are not connected to it. If you and I were in a desert and we were not near water but very, very thirsty, you and I would have an experience where there was not enough water, whereas there are people in Missouri and Mississippi that are getting flooded by the very same instant with too much water from the Great Mississippi River. So it's all about perspective. It's all about where you're at and what you're connected to and how you can actually access it. So more to the point, the abundance is there. Perhaps we just don't have the civilization to spread it evenly or to make it abundantly available so that people can have more or less depending upon their needs and desires, but essentially that it's not just distributed by some socialist propaganda machine in that type of forceful exercise of redistribution. So that leads us to the next law, the law of universal means, and this is the law that we call the law of prosperity. The law of prosperity is sharing one's abundance. So if we're not an abundant civilization, we're sure as hell not going to be a prosperous civilization. And, you know, that goes to, I mean, you could probably document, there have been plenty of documentaries that talk about the amount of money that we spend to kill one another and to defend against the possible invasions of others. It's nearly ridiculous. And it's not necessarily very prosperous because those things are destroying the resources that we have. So yeah, you might be able to harvest some particular type of resource that in a peaceful civilization would not be harvested, but you're using that one benefit to blow up other things, including human life, that then wastes all that energy and all that food and water and time and energy spent in raising those people. So it's just a net loss all the way around, except for a few vested interests, I should say. Point being, those have been the universal laws, the 4 universal laws we've talked about thus far. Moving on to episode 16, this is the universal law of relativity. Put simply, the universal law simply states that you and I and everything in this universe are connected. We are influenced by one another. We are not the cause of one another, but we are influenced by one another. The past is connected to today, and today is connected to tomorrow. Tomorrow is connected to the past, and the present moment is obviously one of the things that connects them. In this, there are no quote-unquote enemies. All you are doing is fighting yourself if you have enemies. If you have people that you hate or dislike, you are actually hating and disliking yourself. In the Christian teachings, this was taught very eloquently by the man named Jesus, or probably some other name that's not as well known. In any case, his simple sayings did survive and were put into the bureaucratic approved book called the Bible. And those sayings simply say that however you treat the least of me, so you treat me. He understood the law of relativity probably better than most people in recorded history. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have understood it just as well as him, but they're not what history remembers, and their writings are not easily available. Moving on, we can look that since this is the universal law, since this is the truth, your job, my job, anybody's job is to recognize the interconnectedness of all things, of all people, and to stop thinking that a war in a country that you've never been to, that doesn't have your roots, doesn't have your culture, is background noise, while a violent, horrible attack, but basically on the scale of many other attacks that happened in the other country that you don't have any roots from, that you don't have any friends or family from, you should be equally outraged or equally detached. To be one or the other, to be detached towards one and then rage towards the other, just shows hypocrisy and imbalance with this particular universal law. So it would be ignorant for you to believe that there are some lives that matter more than other lives. Now, that's a loaded statement because individuals make those assessments, but universally, there is no assessment that can value one person's life over another. And yet, in the grand scheme of things, everybody's kind of in a different grade. They're in a different gradation of their enlightenment or their flowering. Just as a calf, when it's born, is only going to be worth $100 to $250, whereas a full-grown cow is probably going to be worth $100 or $1.86 live weight per pound, which means that through the course of that cow's life, from calf to cow, the society that is Meat America, for lack of a better word, values the cow more because more can be done with that product. And so it is true that people, humans, can be valued at different levels. Their contributions can be at different levels. But it's a slippery slope for you to make that determination universally about broad trends and broad happenings. So again, I would just caution not to buy into the idea that somebody's lives or some people's lives matter more than others as a principle. Now, in individual situations, yes, that can be more accurate, but that's utilizing more of the universal laws than what we have time to discuss right here. By and large, you have to realize that the law of relativity is a peaceful law. It simply says we are all connected, and as we wake up to this particular universal force, love, compassion, respect, tolerance, these are, you could call them the shoots of relativity. These are productive outgrowths from a basic understanding that we are all connected, that you tolerate other people, that you respect other people, that you listen to other people, that you understand other people. And yeah, language and culture might present a barrier, but if we all had the incentive to look at what really unites us, what does bring us together, we'll see that we're all on the same planet together. and that we all are Homo sapiens. And sure, there are variations in the genetic code. They're minute, they're important, but they should not give any of us the right to feel quote unquote superior than another genetic distinction. By and large, this law is simply to help you and I and all people live peacefully. And way before that happens, we start to live harmoniously and creatively. Peace is more of a setting sun of a stage of evolution, and we have yet to even experience the rising sun. Or maybe that's where we're at right now, is that the sun has probably just reached the horizon, and there's still enough darkness in the world to make most people believe that it's still dark, dark, dark out. This is Rory Colgan from the Metaphysics Hour, asking you to support us at innerhealthtoday.com/donate. Subscribe to this channel, pass it on to your friends if you find it useful, and as promised, bringing you an hour of metaphysics in about 10 minutes or less. Y'all be blessed and have a great moment in life.